Ron Perlman was? I think that cut off.
Yeah, I'm up. Hold on, we'll get to that. Hold on. Hey guys, and Robert here, and I have back on with me Bianca, or BM, or do you want to just go by Bianca? Hello?
Can you say that one more time?
I said, do you like me calling you BM, or do you want to just go by Bianca, or just B, or... I realized I never even asked you that part. We're live.
Okay.
We're recording. We're recording.
Oops.
But anyway, guys, we're here because we did a bit of a stream, but we kind of deviated into other stuff. But today we're going to be talking about, this is a fun review, the Irresponsible Captain Tylor, and yeah, I mean, I suggested it to you. You checked it out. I just went through and watched everything about it. And what would you say about the series? What first impressions?
The first episode was interesting. I didn't know what I was gonna be getting myself into just by from the title itself. I'm like irresponsible how, but then after I see his appearance, I'm like, oh, okay. Am I gonna see like shenanigans and stuff? And then I see shenanigans, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna like this series then.
Yep. Not only do you see shenanigans, but you just see all other types of happenings and going ons with it. You have, because basically you have Takiwaki. No, not Takiwaki. What was his full name? Jeez, I gotta double check what his full name was. Hold on. Justy Ueki Tylor, age 20.
I thought that was so weird.
How he always says that. And some people say that, but he wants to join the UPSF, or the United Planet Space Force. This is Earth in the future. And why does he want to join up? Because it'll be easy.
And have an easy life.
Exactly. At first you're just like the guy, the recruiter. You're like, what? And then he explains it, how you get a free boarding, food, clothing, everything provided for you. If you get on the front lines, yeah, you'll be seeing action and all that stuff. But if you're getting a desk job, smooth sailing.
And he was even bragging, like, what if I'm like famous? Then you would be like,
yeah, I can write my memoirs, and I'll mention you for getting me started, and that helps. Here's the thing about Tylor. I think the best way to describe it is, if he was a D&D character, all the stats would have been in the charisma.
100%, 1,000%.
Yeah, that is how it works. And we get that because when he's going, that was the first step, how he was able to get himself in. But then while he's in there, you then have him going through his questionnaire. He gets fed, the male AI fed up, so the female one comes in, and he seduces her without even really trying.
I just kept wondering how he got the glasses off. I'm like, how?
Oh yeah. It's like, this is clearly not virtual reality, but somehow he did it, and somehow he's able to get her feeling emotions she shouldn't be feeling. It's just like, that's how high his charisma is. And it comes in helpful later, without him realizing it. But yeah, he's able to turn machines in love with him, to the point where she goes like, first, she doesn't even know what the question is. That she's like, what was the question again? Things like that. And then she blows up because she's so aroused. And then she's ticked off at him, of course. And then right at the moment, right as this is all going on, you have another empire, the Rygon Empire, being currently now led by the newly appointed young Azalin, the 16-year-old empress whose father was just recently assassinated. Now, it's never made clear who killed it, but it's implied, the Rygons think it was the UPSF, but the UPSF are saying they think it was us, which tells you it wasn't them. Because why would they say it like that? Why would they phrase it like that if it wasn't them, right?
Yeah.
And we're also introduced to oh, hold on, just trying to just a moment. Oh, come on. We're introduced to Admiral Mifume and Fuji. They the two main, higher ups who are behind a lot of power play. And Fuji especially is mostly scum. He has a few good moments, but Mifune is the guy who's the more reasonable of the two. When he's not ready to commit seppuku or attack Tylor with his katana, but between the two of them, he's the one who's more likely to listen to reason.
Yeah.
Whereas Fuji, he'll only listen to reason if he has something to benefit from it, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, I did not like Fuji.
I did not. I mean, again, except for one or two moments I started to, but for the most part, I hate him. And Mifune, you didn't like at first, but at some points you then start to like, okay, nope. He is willing to listen and understand.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason why I liked him a little bit more.
Yep. But yeah, Tylor, because the Rygon now in the case of let me get back to it. With Azalin, she has a couple people surrounding her. You have the chief advisor, Wang, there's a name, who is clearly the Jafar. He's the guy who manipulates. He wants to keep the war going, and he knows how to use politics.
The advisor.
The advisor. Then you have Captain Dom, who is the more reasonable, one of their best captains of their fleet, and very loyal to the Empress. And later on, we're also introduced to Shihaz, this very attractive, commander who is often paired with Captain Dom. She's very much the Star Trek babe, if you know what I mean.
She's not really showing a lot. I thought they would use her a lot more.
Oh, they do. Actually, they do use her a bit more in the OVAs, and she does become more important in the light novels, which is what these are based off of. The anime itself is loosely following the light novels for the most part. And the OVAs, you think, continue off of the anime. They actually continue off of in between moments of the light novel and set things up. But because the anime didn't deviate that much, you can fit it between with both.
Okay.
Now with Azalin, she's adorable, but it's like she's very stressed and strung out. But when she no longer has the at one point, when she no longer has the duties of being an empress over her head, she is a brat.
Yeah.
It's like her age finally catches up to her now that she no longer has the stress over her.
Realizes that she's a 16-year-old
girl, which now she's well aware of that. She doesn't want the responsibility. But she has no choice, because if she didn't, well, Wang would take over, and we don't want that. But you also have but yeah, sorry, let me get back. So yeah, Tylor, he gets recruited mostly because they think the blowing up of the AI was caused by the Rygon, and so it's like, hey, we're under attack. This is war. We don't need to worry about those type of surveys. Here, join up. And yeah, and it's that guy from the recruiter. He's like, and hey, remember, don't forget to include me in your memoirs. And that's the last we see of that guy. I mean, he's not dead. We just don't see him again.
Obviously, yeah.
And then Tylor, he gets a job at the pension office.
Office, yeah.
Yeah, and eventually, now first, he would be perfectly fine with that at first, but through circumstances, he stumbles into a hostage situation that was done to try and demoralize the UPSF. Through some Rygon agents. And Tylor, being the way he is, heads over there when Admiral, what was his name? Admiral Hanner, who is this very old but well-regarded admiral, who unfortunately, despite being so regarded, is a key reminder of how your veterans can get just so left under the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I gotta make this clear. In the dub, they call these twin girls, Emmy and Yumi, his daughters. They're his granddaughters. I don't know why the dub kept saying daughters.
I was like, that is not your dad. Your grandpa, maybe, but
Now,
it's not
and
your
only the first time
dad.
we ever hear him speak is the only time he ever came off coherently when he said he wished he was able to, give his pension out to his girls.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time he's ever coherent. Any other time it's like, which I think that was done for a dubbing thing again. I don't think he's ever supposed to speak. But then you also have Yuriko Star, who's a friend of the Hanar family. Never explain what or how, but she's there too, and she clearly becomes the woman that Tylor is most interested in, and a very by the book officer to a fault.
Yeah.
Very much to a fault. At least when she's on duty. When she's off duty, which is before the terrorists show up. Oh nope, normal woman. Then the terrorists show up. She's trying to figure out everything she can do to get out of there. And then Tylor bungles his way in, where we're also introduced to Lieutenant Yamamoto. I love Yamamoto. He has like the best character development in this whole series. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I loved his character development. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like he went from this by the book, there's only one way you're supposed to do it, to, well, I'll get to that when we talk about the OVA.
Yes, sorry.
Yep. I'll say we'll get to that when they get. I think there's a delay on our end.
The internet's pretty bad on my side.
Just disconnect and come back in.
Okay.
Okay,
hopefully it's better.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Nope, I think there's still a delay.
Is there still a delay?
I think there is. I would recommend signing off, exit the screen, and then come back in.
Dang it. Okay, hold on.
Yeah. There we go. Let's see if that works.
I hope so.
Oh, but clearly you can hear me fine. That was fine. No delays there. So anyway, as we were saying with Yamamoto, yeah, he has a great character growth that both reaches two climaxes. First at the end of the series and at the end of the OVA. But either way, now with what we were talking about earlier when we started the recording that you probably heard, the actor, whose name escapes me at the moment, but he was going for a Ron Perlman voice with Yamamoto, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I see it. I hear it.
Yeah, definitely. Very much as like, Captain, please. We must say, what, Captain? What are you doing?
Captain.
Oh, Captain. Yep. And then now they are able to stop through Tylor's antics a bunch of the terrorists. And the funny thing is, it's not one plan. It's a couple of attempts that Tylor does, which is what I like about it. It's not just one thing. He just does a bunch of random stuff that keeps one of them distracted because they're pointing about how pretty he is. And then another one where he's trying to convince them by saying, yeah, you're ugly, but you have probably a beautiful heart. And at first it seems like he's going to let him go. Nope, I'm going to blow. Let's die together. And it's like, crud. But then how does he get out of that? He then tells Yuriko, You can hit me if you want. And then what happens when she tries to? He ducks and she knocks, hits the terrorist and knocks the bomb out instead. Of course, she then says, "Is that offer to hit you still on?" What?
He's like, what? And what do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about.
I know, but he's not like, what did I do? He was not like that, at least. He wasn't like,
Mm-hmm.
what did I do? That's one thing about Tylor. He never asks what just happened.
No, he doesn't. He's a live in the moment kind of guy.
Exactly. And oh yeah, by the way, Captain Tylor, this was the first leading role for Crispin Freeman, who would go on to do a bunch of stuff. And in the case of Yuriko, voiced by Rachel Lillis, who is best known for doing Misty and Justy in Pokemon.
Yes.
Yep. And in the case of Aslan, that's Lisa Ortiz, Lena from Slayers, and Amy Rose. She did for a good length of time, actually for the 4Kids dub, among so many other voices.
I thought she sounded familiar.
Yep. And then there's a couple other actors as well, but those are like the three big names that came out of this. And but yeah, after stopping it all, the brass, much to the Admiral's chagrin, agreed to give Tylor his own, to promote him out of the pension office and give him his own command. So they put him on the
Soyokaze.
The Soyokaze, which is basically the dumping ground for troublemakers and unwanted. At least that's what they say at first. That's probably, it seems that way for the grunts, but not for the other members of the crew, which is what always baffles me. What did the other crew do to deserve to get there? Again, the doctor and the grunts, yes. But what about what we'll introduce Lieutenant Kim, Katori, especially Katori? Why the heck is he put on the dumping ground?
I have no idea, especially since he's the blonde-haired guy, right?
No. That's the yeah. You have now Kojiro. I could also understand as well. It's both. Why is he there? And then you remember his misogyny, which is more because he's afraid of women. Mm-hmm. That caused it. You're like, oh, that's probably why. But yeah, but of all of them, Kim and Katori are the two. You're like, why?
If anything, for Kim, probably due to her laid-back attitude. Especially
That's
from
true.
That one episode.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that episode. I love that episode, but yeah, we'll get to that. And that could be, but Katori, yeah, maybe because no one understands his potential. I think that could be why people probably didn't realize his potential. So they thought, we got enough pilots, toss him there. That's the only thing I could think of. Then again, he didn't really become a standout until near the end of the series.
That's true. He even Kim has more speaking roles.
Yeah. But both Tylor and the twins, because they want to join up, are heading out there. And I do love it how Tylor, again, remind you how much not an idiot is. He's like, that's a piece of junk. Again, he's optimistic, but he's not blind.
Yeah.
That's why, again, I love Beth. It's just like, he's just like, that's junk. Why are they telling me the junk? And then I love how Yamamoto is on board, and he's all like when the captain arrives, and he's all like, I will expect discipline. And then when Tylor shows up, it's like, what are you doing here? I've been assigned here. Well, I'm acting command until the captain shows up. Well, you don't have to act and be in command any longer. What? Reads the paper. What? And
I love that.
I know. Then it's Yuriko then explains how, this is the dumping ground, but she's there because she feels a bit responsible because of how the situation played out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically the whole reason is Mifune and Fuji, they think Tyler's going to be an embarrassment to them, so they want to put him there so they can come up with an excuse to get rid of him. And given how the Marines act, they would have given Tylor all the excuse they needed. If it wasn't for one thing, the big command he gives at the end of the second episode is, do whatever you want.
Yeah, just do anything. I don't care.
And that's because the funny thing is, that's the one command they can't refuse.
They were all for it.
Yep. Oh, and we're also introduced to the doctor.
Master Roshi lookalike.
Yeah, kind of. Hold on. Oh man, they're not saying what it is. Hold on.
He had a name, right?
Kitaguchi.
That's why I never.
And I like him. I liked him because the thing about him is, yeah, he drinks, but he says, I'm actually a great surgeon when I'm drunk. But he never really gets that wasted where you think like, oh, this is going to end badly. No, it's actually the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's the funny thing. It's the truth. He's a terrible surgeon when he's sober. But when he's drunk, he's able to pull off a lot of stuff. And yet he doesn't act like, okay, now it's like, no, he has to get really plastered for that, which it seems like he knows his limits of like what he needs to be a surgeon and what he needs when he's just goofing off. Which again, that's pretty original, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I like every time he drinks alcohol and spits it onto the wound aggressively.
Yep, definitely. And then later on, we're also introduced to Nurse Petty Officer Harumi, the more of the eye candy. There's a lot of ladies on board the ship, and the funny thing is, this should have gone in a harem territory, and it kind of does for at least one episode, but it really doesn't.
It doesn't.
What I mean? It kind of straddles it. It straddles it between, if they wanted to, it could have gone full on harem, but they didn't. They kept it like, no. Again, it leads into that one episode, but again, we'll get to that. But during the next episode, during the second episode, they try to give the captain a bomb in a package, and they don't think much of it. It's just like, meh, the captain, Tyler's just like, oh, cool. Just puts it aside, and we don't think much about it. Then the next episode, they get attacked, they get ambushed, and they get everything taken care of, and not taken care of, taken over. But Tylor keeps his cool the whole time, and he gives the package to the leader. And as he's heading back before he can give the order to open fire, he's in the escape pod. Open it up, boom, goes crashing into his ship, blowing it up, and then triggering all the other ships to shoot each other. And of course, when it was
so cool, like it all, like, what's it called, lined up together.
Yep, domino effect.
Yeah, domino effect.
And then when they asked, like, Tyler, how'd you know about the bomb? Oh, there was a bomb in there? What do you know? Ah! But it's like, and it's the thing about Tyler. Is he a genius or is it all luck? And I look at it, it's both. It's a perfect blend of both. And funny thing is, I actually asked Crispin Freeman, and he responded.
I saw that response. Congratulations.
Yep, he said, it's funny. I actually talked about this on the new interview that will be on the Blu-ray release. Asking if Tyler's a genius or an idiot is a false dichotomy. It assumes rational thought is the best way to evaluate his choices. Tyler is the embodiment of the Tao, which means the way, the path.
Yeah. And
that's
whatever happens kind of thing.
And he actually says that at one point. That actually is the key part of an episode when you have Yamamoto saying, a captain should stand and go down with the ship and fight to the last man. And then Tyler says, well, what if they have superior technology? Well, then we have greater numbers. What if they have space and better numbers? Superior tactics. What if they have it? What if they're just a better foe? And basically the whole point of it is what he's trying to say is that if luck is on your side, you have nothing to worry about. If luck is not on your side, there's nothing you can do.
Surrender,
exactly. Surrender or run away. It was actually that's later on. Run away. But but eventually, Nurse Harumi shows up, and she's a spy. And the funny thing is, Tyler knew, and we don't even make that very clear right away. He actually makes a joke saying, "Or you could be a spy," and then she's like, "Huh? It could be a lot of things." But later on, it's revealed she is a spy, and Tyler actually did know and didn't say anything. Why? Because his judge of character was, hey, you've been nice, you've been kind, you've been polite, you haven't done anything to us.
I remember him saying that he didn't know that she was a spy, but he knew there was something mysterious about her. Yeah,
that was very spy-like, so that was all he really needed. Which
I found that cool.
Which again, he said that right off the bat. Although I do like how on the captain's quarters he has the little wooden thing with a hammer, and it's like knock, and she does that, like dunk, dunk, and I'm just like, just seeing this beautiful woman doing that. And the thing about Harumi is, she actually is with the Rygon, and we find out she's an android, which I think came a little out of nowhere.
I thought that was so weird. I'm like, wait, so you're the railgun, but you're also an android. Why did
Yep.
they put the android aspect into it? They
Well,
have
one. Well,
androids,
to
but
be
she's the
fair,
only one. She's
yeah,
the
but to
only
be
android we've
yep, but to
seen.
be fair though, it does play off of from the first episode.
Yeah, it
She
is.
starts to feel feelings she shouldn't be,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you have a point where you have Shiha saying you become default and faulty. You like basically pointing out saying she's saying and doing stuff she shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, like having feelings, having
Exactly.
doubt.
Yep. But yeah, I also love how throughout most of the series you have Captain Dom. He is observing Tyler, and he keeps on feeling he gets a good beat on him, and then something throws him for a loop. And then, but it's at the same time, he's like, Captain Tyler. You know, he's like he has respect for him. All the
Mm-hmm.
while, the brass are trying to do everything they could to get rid of him, until finally they decide we're just demoting you, and they do it so out of the blue.
I hated that. I hated
Yeah,
that so
but it
much.
ended up. But that brief time, that mini arc of them being in the demotion zone, actually
Yeah.
helped out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically they get demoted. Now there is a chance for them to turn it around, but Tyler gets distracted by talking to Admiral Hanner. And the funny thing is, you think something was going to come out of that. It really didn't. Except to make it clear how much Hanner means to Tyler and how much Tyler appreciates it. But at the end, they missed the deadline, so they have to head back. They head into the demotion zone, and nothing turns it around at first. And while they're there, you do have some stuff going on, like the twins getting taught by Kojiro how to fly, and it turned out they're naturals. It just needed a very near traumatic event to trigger it.
It's so funny how he cares, but he acts like he doesn't care.
Exactly. Or you have Yuriko getting fed up with the crew, so she's all like, act all prim and proper, which that was a great moment. Like
Clean the ship.
for 24 hours, you act like a proper crew, and they do. And then by the time when Captain Dom actually has them surrounded, they do surrender, and it looks like Tyler's going through all the proper stuff, ready to be like, okay, we have last words and everything, last drink, everything. But then the time's up, and because they can still do whatever they want, the crew decide, okay, guys, let's get them, without Tyler having to say a word. And of course, Dom thinks it was a trap.
Mm-hmm. And they did it like while cleaning the ship. They decided to get like these. Oh my gosh, what are those things called? Those the pilots that they go on.
Yeah,
and
the
the
ship,
trash was the ammo.
Oh yeah, the trash. They shot out all the trash. Like, we're stuck. We don't know what this is. Tyler, how dare you? Again, Dom keeps on thinking that he's this genius or something is weird about him.
Mm-hmm. And then later on, he's like, maybe this is all just luck, or I don't know.
Yep. But then eventually, do you have the beauty contest episode?
Beauty contest episode.
Yeah, where they decide let's have a beauty contest, and it's one where things come to a head for Harumi, where they find out about her being a spy, and decide like, hey, I'll just give you, so you can still give them some information.
Mm-hmm.
Because anything to keep her on board. But yeah, and then although I do love the bit where Yuriko gives her the swimsuit, and at the end turned out she had made modifications, and Yuriko's like, that's my old suit and it looks better on you.
I felt so bad.
Yeah, because if you know it, she gave her a one piece, but then Yuriko's wearing a bikini.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she showed no sign of jealousy at first, I think that was intentional on Yuriko's part.
Yeah, when you have stuff like beauty contests, it'll.
Even though Yuriko had no interest, I think that look and everything says, oh, she was giving her not so better outfit. I also do love bits where this is around the time when we started to get more feeling for Lieutenant Kim as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that comes up in a moment, but yeah, though but yeah, I love how he's telling how beautiful Yuriko looks, and I said, "You have a lovely back, Lieutenant Kim. Thank you," because that's all he's seeing is her back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then eventually we do get the episode then where where Tylor starts saying stuff like, start dressing a bit, in casuals and civvies and everything. And good boy, Laura does. Kim, she pushes the boundaries of the regulations.
Yep.
To look more feminine and attractive and alluring, wearing makeup and lipstick,
Lots of jewelry.
Yep, heels, and said stuff like, hey, regulations do say that so long as we're not on duty and so long as we're not on active duty, or we're in any emergency, it's fine to do this. And then Yuriko is trying to say, but we're in the demotion zone, demoted. If we want to prove our best, and yet she's like, well, wouldn't the opposite be true and everything? And then it turns out it starts to become a bit of a back and forth between the two. And poor Yamamoto's all like, oh, I'm stuck between these two. What do I do? And the doctor's like, just let it play out.
Yuriko was obviously in the right. You're in space where somebody can come up out of nowhere anytime to be an emergency.
True, but Kim did prove, though, her point, which was she will jump in an emergency regardless of what she's wearing. And that was a point she did make, and she proved it.
Didn't she? Wait, did she have a slip up because of
no,
what she
no
was
slip
wearing?
up. No slip up at all. It just led to the two really butting heads. But no, what led to it was her realizing once she got what she wanted, it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
And then once Yuriko even told her nice high heels, she was like, well, now that you say that, I guess I really don't need them now. And Yuriko says, I'll take them for whenever I feel like wearing them.
I found that super nice.
Yeah, but again, what I love about it that they showed off the sex appeal without going too perverted.
Mm-hmm.
Even with Harumi, they don't go too perverted.
I do like the way her hair is animated.
Yep. And I gotta say, she has a nice ass. That one particular shot.
Yeah, I was like, wait, are we getting into that line now?
Nope, thankfully just that one shot. That was just the one shot, and that was it. But I also do love it, though, that one point where they're saying, hey, someone's listening, and there's another line, and she just goes right over there and smashes it. Even while she's dressed all prettied up, it's like, no, she's still all business.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, that's where Kim, she made a point that's like, hey, I'm still all business even when I'm dressed like this, even if no one's taking me seriously. And then, she kicked one of the guys right in the shin and everything.
With those really, really, really big heels.
Yep. Cool. But yeah, then eventually, though, they go through this horror-like situation. Where,
that was so weird.
It was. But the funny thing, though, you think it's a ghost story that was made up. And then we got the Admiral Fuji, and we found out it happened!
And I'm like, wow, okay, so pretty sketchy stuff happened.
Yep, and then once after they were able to get through that situation, which I have to wonder if Fuji was spanking on it.
Mm-hmm.
Once it was revealed and he realized, now he misinterprets and thinks they know what happened. They didn't. But he's like, but because of circumstances that ended up that way, he's like, okay, you're no longer demoted. Come on back. And then the very next episode, Mifune is like, why did you do that? And then when he finds out, if you come this way, they'll meet up with the Raigon forces and there's no way they're actually going to make it. You're setting them into a trap. Yeah. Again, that's at the scummiest for both of them at that moment.
Yeah, that was disappointing for me.
I mean, granted, I don't blame Fuji in that moment when Mifune is ready to slice him apart.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that sometimes.
Yeah, and especially in that moment. But I just love the two times where he's like, "Let me die, just let me die." No, Admiral. But but then we have the other Admiral meet up with them, and it leads to a bit of a chase, and eventually, the whole runaway. That's where we get Tylor's whole mindset of if they have the superior tactics, weaponry, numbers, and everything. And if luck's on your side, you'll make it through. If it's not, you're dead. There's nothing you can do. Mm-hmm. And that's what was proven there. Perfectly proven. And that's the moment when Yamamoto really starts to realize the truth behind Tylor. He'd been struggling, but that moment there is when he realizes, the captain may have a point. And again, that's what I love about Yamamoto. More than anyone else, it's his growth that you start to realize the by-the-book ways don't work, or at least are not guaranteed to work.
I realized that even when Yamato says, "Oh, the captain has to go down with the ship," the moment something happens and he has to be the captain, he's offered to be the captain, and something
He's,
bad's about to happen, he hesitates.
well, the funny thing is, though, that is explained here.
Oh my
You want to
gosh.
know why? His
Why?
mentor went down with the ship. His
Okay.
mentor went down with the ship, and he felt like that's what every captain needed to do. Now, eventually, during this, he meets up with the wife of his mentor, and then said, "Do you know what the last thoughts went through his mind?" And it wasn't basically. She said, "Now it's not that he was being a coward. It was simply that he wanted to go and get the data from their scans and everything before they left." And basically, like, it's clear the last thoughts were, "Why my ship? Why are they doing this? How did this happen?" So basically, it was he didn't do it by choice. Now he knew what he was getting himself into, so it's not like he was a coward. But it's basically saying it's not always that black and white.
There's always the gray area.
Exactly. And that did change how Yamamoto looked at things going forward from that point. But yeah, to find that out about Yamamoto, I'm like, that explains a lot. You have a mentor that scared the crap out of you, but made you want to be the best you can be, and then he died going down with the ship. Yeah, that would encourage you to want to feel you should do the same.
Mm-hmm.
But that also explains why he became so much regulated by the books that it blinded him.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then of course, they eventually get another. That's when eventually we meet up with Shihas eventually, and they deal with her. And then eventually you have Harumi has to release a virus on board the crew, which that was
I remember.
yeah, the gas and everything. That was and that's the point when Tylor gets up to save the crew. Tylor surrenders himself. And this is when we start to get into the final quarter of the series, as he's now taken to the Raigon Empire. And beforehand, there's a point where, they Yamamoto. There was a suggestion that he come with. That's what Captain Tylor says. He could come with me too. No, he's choosing to stay there. But then the next episode, he's like, "I should have died with you," and he's ready to hang himself. And they're all trying to stop him. But at one point, one guy goes, "Hey, okay, who's pulling him down? Who's pulling him down? Prep him up." And it's the guy who's usually the biggest asshole. And he's like, "Okay, who's the jerk? Push him up." The fact it was that guy who said it, not any others. The guy who's the big asshole of the Marines is the one who's saying, "Okay, who's the wise guy?" Again, but this tells you that, it's hilarious, but also kind of sad for Yamamoto.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, then once Tylor's there and he meets Azalin, he becomes her little pet, her Paco and Paco.
Paco.
That was adorable, wasn't it?
I'm surprised he was treated so well.
Well, she's the Empress, of course.
Before she decided to make him Paco.
Oh yeah, that's true. But I do then love it though, then how he actually does call out Wang perfectly. He perfectly sums things up about him, and yet then he has to shut up then because he knows what's good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was super confused of how the brainwashing thing happened.
I think it made him more. It wasn't so much brainwashing so much as I think it's what caused him to be more easily accepting of his predicament.
It happened while he was on the Railgun ship?
Yes.
Like, did they knock him out or something?
I think it was after they brought him on. But I think the chip was designed more to make him open to reveal secrets, and then instead it was designed to keep him docile.
Oh, okay.
That's what I think anyway. That's what I personally think. Because they never really go into detail about it.
No, that's why I'm like, I was so confused. I'm like, he seems like he's acting like his normal self to me. So,
but there is a little something off. But there was a little something off. Wouldn't you say? Like he felt a little too.
When he was talking to Wang.
Yeah,
like,
he felt more like
you're
deadpan.
You're kind of weird.
He was coming off deadpan. He was being observational like he normally is, but he wasn't like, "Oh, you're more like this." I'm like, "Oh, you're more like this." Like he felt like he was
like an actual pet.
Yeah, like a pet that could talk, of course. But again, his mind was working, his observational skills were working, but his delivery was off.
Yes.
But again, that was a good hint off. And then, of course, you have Yamamoto and the others. throughout that brief time, ever since they let the demotion zone, they became so close to everyone that he's like, "We're going back to get the captain," and that
And
was
finally be a
great.
captain.
Yeah, yeah, he gets to do it, but it's like, no, we need him, Tyler, back, not at this cost. So they go back and they get him, but the only way to do it is one, he gets severely hurt, and so the Empress decides, I'm coming with you to make sure that nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And because during all this, she's learning, like being around Tyler, her Paco Paco, Aslan is finally being a child around someone. And she likes that feeling, and she's fallen in love with him.
At the same time.
And I love that it's like, I have this friend who is like, oh, Paco Paco, I hate you! Because he's the funny thing, again,
oblivious.
But is he?
Sometimes.
I have to wonder
like,
if he's oblivious, or I think it's more of a case where he's looking at her as a little girl, and part of him thinks that's how she's looking, like a big brother, not realizing it's romantic.
I mean, there was that time she lied about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, yeah, that's later. That's later. I'm talking about in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the moment where it's like, no, I think that's the OVA I'm seeing him talking about now. Sorry. But anyway, so they escape. They're on board the ship. They eventually deal with the chip where you have Yuri. They do an experimental procedure. And first, Yuriko's about ready to go in because it's very dangerous. Basically, it's like one of the more clever, high concepts, wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. I found it super interesting. Reminded me of
Tron, a bit of a brain. I call it Brain Tron almost.
Paprika.
The
movie Paprika.
I haven't seen that.
Satoshi Kon. Inception, I guess. Since the Paprika was the movie that inspired Inception.
Gotcha.
So like into dreams kind of thing.
Kind of. It's kind of like that, but not entirely.
Into the mind.
Yeah, basically you're going into the mind and everything, but in this case it's through the electrical impulses. But they do treat it like it's that next frontier of untapped uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're in there, and it tells you the two big difference. And this is the point where Yuriko gets her big character development, more so. Because you have Aslan calling her out on her actions, like, why are you being so mean to him? Do you not like being complimented? And yeah, at the same time, Yuriko has her reasons, but it's like, Aslan has a point. It's basically, this is the point where Yuriko drops her son Dreher attitude, finally.
Mm-hmm. I did, like, sometimes I would think Yuriko was, like, being too mean, and I'm like, listen, you just gotta chill.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what I think Aslan needed to tell her, I think basically that's what Aslan, without meaning to, told her. But it also tells you the big difference between the two is when Aslan lets herself be taken in by his subconscious mind and is ready to fall asleep in his mind, which could have killed her. Because it tells you that she just wants that contentness of being with her Paco Paco.
Yeah, I was like, oh no, you're telling Yuriko this, but you're also being way too on the opposite side.
Yep, but then it also took Yuriko then to be all like, Captain Tylor, snap out of it! We need you! And that's finally what gets him out of it. Mm-hmm. So basically it's like Yuriko's being too extreme, Aslan's being too passive, so Yuriko needed to be, because Aslan was never going to do it, you need Yuriko then to rein it in, but still be aggressive, just not that aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it also explains why Yuriko is the girl for Tylor.
Yeah, she definitely.
Once she gets over her issues.
Personality. Yeah.
Yeah, once she got over her issues. Then we get the next, after they finally get him out of there, and I guess the chip got destroyed by the brain or something. Because they didn't have to remove it. Everything's fine. And then the next episode is where we get into the harem episode. Because everyone's so happy that the captain's alive. And I guess celebrating the Empress being 16. And then they give the captain this tape saying, this tape, don't think anything happen. It's a porn tape. Giving the Marines, there's a reason they treasure it, obviously. But while he's watching it, somebody's up with his VCR and he actually hits the erase. But apparently it's one of those VCRs where you hit erase and it's going to keep erasing it no matter what you do.
So but I thought it was recording for some reason.
Well, according to the dub, it said erase.
Ah, okay. So I was looking at the VCR while not listening.
Right,
So
but
I
then,
couldn't.
but then now Aslan sneaks in there, and all the while all the other girls come in. First the twins, and they're saying, "Let us be your lovers." Even I'm like, "What?" If I was an anime, I'd be like, "What? Where did that come from?"
I thought it was so weird for all of them to just do something like
Well,
that.
in their case, it was the weirdest.
Yeah, it's. Ugh.
But they were so easy about it because even though he's freaking out about the tape, they misinterpret what he's saying. And but then they're like, oh, if you don't want it, you wanted to stay our relationship to stay where it's at. We have no argument. To which I'm
And
like,
he was like, "No, that's not what I meant." I'm like, "But did you hear them though?"
I don't think so. Part of me thinks he did. I think he would have let them down a different way. It's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I would have
I
thought the
think I
same.
don't think that. I think basically like that's not what I meant. But I think the end result was what he wanted. That's why he didn't push it further. But yeah, then Aslan thinks like, okay, they don't want him too young. And then Lieutenant Kim is practically being aggressive. She's all like, all but confessing. She's throwing herself at him. Still nothing. To which Aslan then like, now in Kim's case, I could see how it developed up to that.
Yeah.
The twins was the baffling. I'm like,
Yeah.
I never saw that as anything. But I think it's because they're so young. They're so on the younger side. They don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
Because the reason why they were able to just so casually go back to how it usually is, it's like, I don't think they were serious.
They don't even know personal space.
Yep. But yeah, Kim, similar thing. And then I was like, oh, because he doesn't like too forward women. And then Harumi's flat out confessing to him. Nope.
My gosh.
But the funny thing is, though, they all go about like they get over their love for him.
Mm-hmm.
Even Harumi does.
And she was the longest.
Yeah, she was the longest one. But even then, she's like, all right. But then Yuriko and Yamamoto trying to figure out what do we do about the Emperor. It's like, oh, and Yamamoto's like, well, we'll be able to have an advantage against the Raigon. And it's like, but she's a 16-year-old girl. But eventually, then Yuriko goes to the captain. It's like, I need to talk to you about something. And he's like, what? You two?
Oh.
I love that. You two? What? Nothing. Little joke. But yeah, then they talk it out, and it's like, what do we do? And he's like, well, what do you think we should do? I don't know. Well, I don't know either. But I'll tell you this. I'm not letting them take her.
That part was so sweet.
It was. But I think that's also the point where, yeah, she's not confessing any feelings to him. She doesn't need to yet. But let's be honest, she does care for the captain, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But and then Aslan, tries to talk to Tylor. He falls asleep. And I love how that moment when she's ready to kick him, like, because she looked like a soccer player ready to kick the ball, didn't she?
She did. I love that.
It helped that we saw so much of her legs because of her outfit. But yeah, then she falls asleep next to him, which the next day leads to that anime. Wow, what are you doing? And then she claims she's pregnant with his child and everything. Like, but we did. Well, our biology doesn't work that way, even though it's not true.
And the fact that he just like accepted it, I'm like, you're not even.
Well, so did the
think
crew
about
too.
it?
Well, I think because he doesn't know how their biology works either.
No, the fact that he even thought that he slept with her.
Oh yeah, true. It's not like he wasn't even drunk. He was just exhausted.
Very true.
But eventually the Raigon catch up and he gives her up. And then the next episode he's ready to be executed. It's like, oh boy, wasn't we just dealing with it a few episodes ago? But then, even though Aslan wanted to end the war, Wang had to make it very clear, you do that, everyone's going to rebel and not follow you. There's no one's going to follow that orders at all.
I think he was lying.
Actually, I'll tell you this, he wasn't. It's made clear he does know what the people want, and that is, they're so used to war, that is what they want.
What a bunch of weirdos. Wouldn't you go to the war to stop the war, not to continue the war?
Wang makes it very clear in the OVAs that he wants, and many of them want, domination of the galaxy.
Okay, makes sense now.
Now, not everyone, of course, but people like him do. Those that are willing to follow him do. But yeah, eventually then, so because of that, Osland feels no choice but to do an all-out attack, which is what actually spares Tylor from being executed. And then they tell him, well, and then I love what leads up to it. It's like, put me in charge. He has this mask over his head. And then it's all like, well, he actually has dealt with their biggest ship and survived, their main ship and survived. Have you done that? No. So the admirals feel like they have no choice but to do it. Even though they feel like he's an idiot, he does have an advantage no one else has.
Luck.
No. Well, the experience is what they're looking at.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But yeah, and then we lead into the next episode, which was one of the most nail biting, wouldn't you say?
It was so. It felt so long. I feel
It
like it
did.
was 20 minutes of just
but it was so
past.
intense. But it was intense. Did it feel intense?
It did. I was wondering that somebody was just gonna shoot or something.
I know you.
Like
That's what you kept thinking. You keep, because basically they're all coming at each other. Just keep advancing forward, to the point where they're causing electricity to spark between them. And
that was cool.
And instead, Tylor just lets it go by and just gives a salute to Dom. And because of that, it stops the aggression for the time being.
And he before he salutes, he kind of did it.
You think they're going to open fire. But that's because he's ready to do a salute, but that same gesture looks like, ready.
I love that.
And then Dom does the same thing. But yeah, then and they just keep on going past. Throughout the whole time, everyone's like, Captain, what are you doing? Captain. And Yamamoto is one of the ones who's saying, that smile. He knows something. That's why he stops Mifune from ready to strike Tylor down and take command.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as a big screw you, they're ready to decommission and take out, the Soyakaze. But they're not that cruel. They're ready to tell Tylor, you can pick what other ship. You could get this new ship. You could even get the old crew if you want. Oh, no, they tell Yamamoto that, not Tylor. But it also doesn't have, actually, no, let me rephrase that, sorry. We skipped the part, very important part. After the ships passed, Admiral Hanar sends a message to both sides saying, I congratulate you on your victory and not a single loss of life. And both sides felt so honored. But as soon as they get back, the very start of the next episode, you think he's seeing them coming in, and he then, in his mind, stands up, all dressed up in his uniform, and salutes them. And it turns out it was all a hallucination, and he dies.
Mm-hmm.
The fact they opened up the episode with that is powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was like, "Whoa, what's going on?"
I know, I know. And then once they find out, it's like he just died, and then it shatters Tylor.
I'm surprised it hurt him more than it hurt his own granddaughters or daughters.
Well, no, I think it did hurt them, but they're more sad just by losing him. Tylor is sad in that it shattered his view.
Yeah.
Because basically, why keep going? Why keep doing it? So he retired. So yeah, he quits.
Yeah.
So and then the last episode, it looks like Yamamoto is going to be given the command, and I love it how they don't do the cliche of we'll give you a proper crew. No, they say, if you want to take that crew, you can go ahead, except for Lieutenant Yuriko, because we're having something else planned for her. And Yamamoto, and I like that, though. It tells you they're not idiots. It's like, no, you worked very good with that crew. And they'll only listen to you. We'll let you have command of them, And and which, because normally you have it be we'll give you a proper crew, But it's like, no, they didn't even pull that. And what ends up happening, you see they have this new ship. I love when they pulled it off.
I loved it too. I was like, this is amazing. I love it.
Because basically what happens, you think they have this new ship, top of the line, best ship in the fleet, and all of a sudden the Soyakaze just plows right through it, and Yamamoto gives command well, what are your orders, Captain? And Tyler's all right with it. It's like, take her out. And then, Yuriko goes on board, and the two admirals are like, ugh. But I also do like beforehand, Mifune is talking to his Fuji. This is before the ending about what was it about rogue monkeys?
Yeah,
or the tyrant or the heretic monkey.
Yeah,
and how basically it prevents inbreeding, it prevents them from getting stale and everything. It's like, That is a good way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's like, I don't think Tylor is that. And at the end, he's like, yeah, Tylor is it. And I think that explains why Mifune is actually so willing to accept the stuff with Tylor. Because he realizes we've gone stale. We've been stuck in our ways. Tylor is causing us to, Tylor's causing us to rethink it. But yeah, that was the end of the series. But in the OVA, it opens up with a movie two-parter, basically called, which is like almost an hour and a half, called Captain Tylor's War, where it turns out Mifune sends him on a secret mission. Now, we don't know until the very end what that mission is, but they keep dancing around it. And it seems like, but it keeps on coming up like everyone starts to question Tylor because he does some really dumb decisions. Like they're supposed to do this one thing, but at the very last second, he's like, surrender in Raigon, because they're not at peace. I should point it out. Mm-hmm. They are at a stalemate, but they're not at peace yet. So when they have this moment going on, you have them tell the Raigon to surrender. A big attack happens, they're damaged, and then they get abducted and everything and all that. And everyone's like, Captain, what were you doing? And they start to question him, and then it seems eventually like he brokers a secret deal with Aslan. Oh, and we get a moment where we find out, you got to remember, Dom never got an understanding of Tylor, ever.
No.
And that's brought you ahead.
Questions.
Well, no, that's brought you ahead where you have a moment where you have Tylor with the prince and with the empress, with Aslan, and then Dom gets a misunderstanding, and he tortures him. He beats on him, saying, "What did you do to her?" Because she starts crying. But it's like, damn, Dom. You know what I mean? And all that stuff. And then you have all that. And then eventually he meets back up with the Empress. He talks to her about what's going on and why he was sent there. And yeah, they're all about ready to be let go and everything, much to a lot of protests going on. And you have a point where Shihaz is actually talking with Yamamoto. This is when they're ready to let them go. It's like, because basically by this point, Yamamoto's developed feelings for Yuriko, but he's being proper about it. He's not being like, I love you. It's more like, but it's felt organic. When you look at the series, it makes sense that it leads there, wouldn't you say? Like they developed a professional understanding, but that could lead to a romance, at least on his side.
I don't think I ever noticed.
Well, again, it's more like the groundwork is set up.
Yeah.
And then by this OVA, he's starting to realize it.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Because, like, they're both very similar.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so
it's more, but at first it starts out as a professional understanding, which then leads into a attraction, at least on his side, not on hers. She is actually starting to feel the emotion for Tylor. And even Dom calls her out on it when during his interrogation with her. Oh, Shihaz, I should point out, tries to interrogate and Kojiro, and she's all in front of him, showing herself off, and he passes out, and she's like, oh, I guess sex appeal wasn't the right approach. Which tells you, Shihaz is saying this. The female lieutenant of the right. So yeah, she's all like, oh, I guess sex appeal wasn't the right approach. It's like, wow. That's hilarious. It's just like, because she's all like, he's like looking right at her rack and everything, and it's like, ugh. And just that look. But yeah, like I said, Shihaz is talking to Yamamoto, saying, why go after someone as damaged as her? A real woman would want a strong man. And then he's ready, basically he's ready to say, I'm staying, Yamamoto's like, I'm staying. I do not want to go back and look at it as a traitor because of the secret deal you agreed to. I refuse. Dom decks him and says, you're all going now. Now, I show to point out that by this point, the Raigon are working on a new weapon that we later find out is the weapons, if they hit the barrier, it'll go right through the barrier and damage the ship. So basically, but basically they're let go and everything. But while they're and as they're heading back, the rest of the crew put up to a vote to relinquish the captaincy from Tylor. They no longer trust him, which Tylor's all like, okay. And even Yuriko's trying to say, like, why aren't you mad? And he starts yelling, you fools, you idiots! Is that what you want me to do? And it's like, okay, I guess it would be a bit out of character for you. But it's like, but why can't, why, it's like basically Tyler saying, what's the point of getting mad? It happened. That's what if that's what they want, why should I argue? But then I'm still pissed off at what Tyler did. He doesn't care. He goes on the attack. And during it all, Tyler, like, you're having Yamamoto return fire. Tyler's still there saying, like, belay that, do not. And they're still listening to him, even though they voted for him no longer to be the captain. And then during it all, he's going to realize it's lower the barriers. And what happens there? Turns out the new weapon, it's useless without the barrier. It just bounces off the normal ship. It needs the barrier to go through and damage it.
I thought it was so cool.
Yep. Wait, what do you mean? But never mind. Yep. But then they start to do normal attacks, and Tyler still says, "Do not return fire," because basically they want to excuse them to take them out. If they don't return fire, it's not going to cause any further hostilities. And sure enough, the ship is damaged. Now they find out this hidden recording that Tyler had that was basically that has a recording of his secret meeting with Mifune about what did he want and everything. And the funny thing is, you want to know what the secret code word was? Erase data.
Oh my gosh.
And once they say it, it's activated, they find out, the whole point was Mifune said, I want you to go over to get yourself captured, meet up with the Empress, and try to negotiate peace. And in exchange, you'll get whatever you want. To which he says, I want everyone to have raises. And and everything. And then Mifune asks him, what is it you truly want? And we don't fully hear him, but he says to have a family with the woman he loves. And it's made very clear it's Yuriko, but it gets cut off. But it's so obvious.
It's obvious.
Yeah. And Yuriko, that's the moment where Yuriko feels like, oh, you know what I mean? And then by the end of it all, they get rescued. Everything's back to normal, and it ends there. And then the rest of the OVA takes place separately, where it's the very first one has Aslan sneaking off with Dom and going to this planet where an old childhood friend of hers is. But unfortunately, between the last time she saw him and now, his uncle tried to attack the Rygon Emperor and take control. And so her father retaliated. He lost almost everything and eventually was put into a vegetative state.
Oh, wow.
Now, throughout all this, she's trying to get through him. She feels like he would. Now, she doesn't know this part at first, but even when it's made clear to him, he's like, so you're saying that if I let him go, we might become enemies and have to fight again? I don't want this. But eventually, this is the point where Aslan finally matures and realizes, I'm going to make a decision. Go. Tells, his handler and him to leave. But then she throws this necklace that he gave her long ago, and it triggers his memories and everything. And he's finally back to normal. And she's all like, I am ready to stand by my actions. And if we're going to have to fight, then we will. But I am not going to cause anything, make any aggressional actions right now. And it's like, wow, it took her this long to finally actually become an empress. A proper empress, and understand what that means.
I'm glad, because it took forever.
Unfortunately, but unfortunately, I'll get back to this when we're done talking about the OVA. But yeah, eventually then we start focusing on a bunch of the other crew, as we're seeing some of them, like, now, the funny thing is, it's a lot of the minor characters. Not Kim or and all that, but like one of them deals with Kojiro, as he got lost and left down in space. He makes his way back eventually, and it's all about that. It's fight to get back at everything, even if it means nearly dying in the process. You have the Marines are trying to learn about this new mech, and it turns out one of them was friends with because they need to go through training for it, and one of them was friends with the guy who designed the mech before he got himself killed. And it turns out this guy, the friend, hated war. So it turned out the mechs were either programmed by the friend or someone hijacked it to attack and destroy weaponry. So the Marines take the mech down. You have One was Yuriko you have one was Yuriko on Christmas trying to meet up with Tylor, and Tyler's trying to make his way there, but this one kid seems to leave a bomb, or it turns out being a clock at a this location, and then eventually starts following Tylor around because he keeps on thinking like, well, why don't you go and call someone? Maybe he wants to be punished. And throughout all of this, eventually the kid, and we find out the whole thing was the kid trying to get his mother's attention. His mother worked there, and it's just him, and she was working on Christmas. And throughout all this stuff, he just doesn't understand why Tyler's not being mad and doing what a grown-up is supposed to do. But eventually, she does show up, and then he catches up with Yuriko, and again, very, very somber type of stuff. Again, Tyler's still being Tylor, but at the same time, it's still treated a bit more like a more slice of life. These are more slice of lives.
Mm-hmm.
And now, to make it clear, the reason why Yuriko, those of you who don't know why Yuriko really wanted to meet up with Tylor on Christmas, it's the idea, because in Japan, Christmas is the time of love.
Not the time of families.
Right. And that's why she wanted to meet, because by this time, the two have gotten a bit serious. But then eventually we get to Yamamoto, and we find out a bit about his backstory. He was given command, and then something somehow was able to damage and nearly destroy the ship, leaving only him alive. And
what about the crew?
The crew's dead. No, it was a different crew, just a separate crew.
Okay.
They're all dead. They're all dead. And he's refining the quarter. Actually, no, wait, there's another episode I forgot. These things, the linearity is very all over the place. Because there's another episode where Yuriko has been tasked to figure out this message going on and this report. She finds nothing wrong with it, but then a bunch of Raigon. First she has these weird things like phone calls, and then a thing of dumbbells have been sent to her, and she's like, okay, are these connected? They must be. So she's carrying them around, and then meets up with Yamamoto. This was before what I just described. This is before. Mm-hmm. And he's wanting it's raining. How about I walk you home? No, it's all right. She gets abducted, but left the dumbbells. So he picks them up and is carrying them in his jacket, though. So he's still able to run around. We find out the Raigon want her to change the report to say that, the Raigon are coming back in force. Now you're like, why would they do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now this is where we get the idea that some of the Raigons do want to keep fighting. So now eventually Yamamoto makes his way there. The dumbbells actually help out because one of the bad guys tried to punch him right after. He's like, my hand! And so they take him down. They get out of there. The guys are washed away, and they're able to make their way up. And they're trying to figure out what was this about. You want to know the funny thing about the dumbbells? Tylor ordered them! So even when he's not there, his luck saves them!
That's amazing.
Yep.
I love that.
But Yamamoto was his thing. He then starts to realize some of the dots is like, wait, there was a red light and this weird noises of something going on and a large magnetic asteroids and everything. And then that soon leads into the big two-parter where we start to follow moments that happen in between the prior episodes. As it's all, again, jumping around. But basically what the gist of it is that they realize there's some secret weapon going on. Someone is doing it. It's not the Raigon, though. Someone else is doing it. Although Wang is in on it at first. And then we basically have it follow that along. Everything's starting to lead to, one of the other admirals wants to have peace with them. Because I feel like we have no choice. We're going to have to do peace because these things are getting out of hand. Dom and him and Shiha are going off while the Emperor stays behind. You have all of the events are starting to connect a bit, and they soon realize then someone is planting this up for the two ends to annihilate the two empires to annihilate each other. And eventually, by it all, you have Yamamoto giving another command with some of the crew, but not all of them on board. Tylor, Harumi, Yuriko, and a few of the others eventually get on board the Soyokazo, which was ready to be scrapped. They were not going to let them have that ship anymore. They were going to scrap it. That's where you get bit ass.
Are they going to?
No. Actually, hold on. And then Meanwhile, then at the same time, while Dom is off, ready to collide with the UPSF, you have then the main ship are being cut off and everything, and they get attacked by the weapons. And then Wayne gets killed, saying like, "They betrayed me! How dare!" Ah! And then and then at the same time, you're like, Yamamoto is ready, like, let's not attack. Wait, something is not right here. And then Tylor and the others show up on the Soyakaze. Basically they push the ship to its limit. This is very Star Trek 3 like, and then the ship is out of date. It's using the new technology and it has not been updated, refitted at all. So it basically is kaput by the time they arrive. So it's like, okay, we're here, because it was to stop the aggression. They get on board the ship, the new ship. By this point, Yamamoto's been in command of the whole fleet, so they can try and figure out what's going on. And then it's decided, you have a point where Tylor contacts Dom saying, here's a picture, it's very blurry, of course, of what's going on. Dom is like, do you expect me to believe you came all the way out here to show me this photo? And then for the first time, you see Tylor actually go like, hey! Like, and whether or not I did this does not mean it. If and basically brings up about Aslan and everything being in danger, and I'm like, shit. You finally see Tylor snap. It's brief though. It's very brief, and he's back to as usual. But yeah, then it's decided. They decided to show a bit of like what and why what they're doing. They destroy the Soyakaze. Why? It was meant to be destroyed for scrap anyway. So to say like, hey, let's fulfill the original edict and destroy it so we could still not be court-martialed and everything. Mifune gives the approval. The ship they destroy the ship, completely just blasting it like it's supposed to be, and it's turned to scrap. And then Tylor tosses his shades to Yamamoto saying, what should we do? He puts them on and says, all right, everyone, form up with the Rygon stuff and let's go save their flagship. Let's go. And it ends there.
Oh, what?
Yep. It ends with Yamamoto in command, giving the order saying, form up and let's go. And that's where the anime ends.
Is that where the light novel ends too?
Nope.
Oh, that light novel continues.
Well, you want to know what happened? Turns out the secret enemy was Aslan's friend.
Oh.
He met up with his cousins, and they reformed us all up, and it was all meant to bring them all down. And unfortunately, thanks to Wang's efforts, even though he was killed, it still caused a big divide, and unfortunately, through a bit of a civil war. Aslan will eventually form. Oh, her friend's going to end up having to die. Turns out he was too far gone. Everything that she was warned about was true.
It's always the friend.
Yep. And then eventually, she decides to form a more democracy. So she'll be the first figurehead at first, and will still be looked upon later on. But she wants some semblance of a normal life. Tylor and Yuriko get married and have a daughter. And Yamamoto actually falls in love with and has a kid with Shiha. Of which I'm like, you know what? I can see that.
The pause is me, like, being...
You were jaw-dropped.
Yeah.
Yep. And yeah, they're able to stop the war and everything, and it finally brings about peace eventually.
Woo, interspecies.
Yep, and that's pretty much where Tylor would go. Which I like it. It's Tylor's in the name, but eventually with the OVAs, it's not about him. He's hardly in it outside of that first stuff.
So it's mostly about the
crew and Yamamoto and yeah. Tylor. It's basically like Tylor's already brought about the change that's been needed.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's still there to give perspective, like. Why would they Rygon attack these smaller ships? That seems petty for them, doesn't it? Stuff like that. He gives the insight, but really, and he comes up with the idea at the end, but for the most part, he doesn't factor that much into it at the OVAs at all. I mean, again, even the Christmas one is the most we see of him, and even that was just him trying to meet up with Yuriko. I mean, everything else, like even the stuff with Yuriko and she's abducted, he doesn't show up until the very end. And that's the reveal about the dumbbells and everything. And even then, during the two-parter, again, he's barely there. It's about all the other dots getting connected. But again, it feels like but it's feeling, his influence is there.
Yeah.
It's basically like the whole point of the anime, the main series was to hit Tyler to bring about the change that was needed for the crew, especially Yamamoto and Yuriko. And then the whole point of the OVA is it wouldn't have worked if the events if it wasn't for Tyler. It's more like he's like the broader, the bigger presence.
Yeah.
And Yuriko mad.
Are you gonna get the Blu-ray?
Oh, I plan on it. Especially now with Chris been saying about the features on there. You bet I am.
I didn't even think they would have a new.
Oh yeah, they definitely are. Right Stuff knows what they're doing. But yeah, so from all I described, because you haven't seen the OVA, what do you think of all that?
Oh, I think it's amazing. I plan on watching the OVAs, but I think it's fantastic that they're focusing on the side characters and instead of Tyler, since the original series was mostly about Tyler.
Mostly about Tyler, the twins, Harume. Basically, this was all the characters, again, except for Yuriko and Yamamoto, but that's because that was needed for the plot. It was basically everyone else who didn't get much.
I thought that a lot of characters weren't shown that much, and now they're telling me that the OVA is more on the side characters. I'm like, okay, cool. I get to see more of them. Also, you know that little intermission they have in the series, like when it's like halfway through? Did you notice the typo with Tyler's name?
Yep. That was like, weird.
Captain Tylor.
Yep. Oh, I gotta say, I love when it goes into after Tyler's been abducted. You have that in between of Yamamoto saying, "And next time on the Casual Composure Yamamoto." Oops, sorry, wrong title. Remember that? How he just tries to put himself in the title. He's like, "Oops, wrong title." I'm just like, Yamamoto, you. But again,
bastard.
like I said, Yamamoto, he's my, besides Tyler himself, Yamamoto is my favorite.
Yeah,
just because again, he's such a multi-dimensional character. I think he's the most in-depth character of the whole series. And at first you think he's just this joke. He's the buy the book, stick in the mud. No, because he actually learns.
Yeah, he's learned more faster than Yuriko.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, oh yeah, definitely. Because especially at that point when she's butting heads with Kim, he's already trying to be all like, "Aren't you being a little extreme?"
And I was like, Yamamoto, really? That's what you think too?
Yeah, and did you notice that was Yamamoto? Actually, that point was also where I could see a hint of the two of them when he's offering to walk her back to her quarters and all that.
And she's like, no, thank you.
Hey, I'm just gonna stay here and do my duties like I'm supposed to.
Yeah,
but yeah, there's a great point I should point out with Kim during the OVAs. It's after when Yamamoto, he's confined to quarters. There's rumor they think he's going to resign. So but then he realizes, I got to tell Yuriko about this. So he's heading over there. Kim is like, wait, you don't have to resign. Because that's what she's like, you're going there. Wait, what are you talking about? You're going to go say goodbye to Yuriko before you resign. No, I'll see you later. I meet you up for a drink. Wow, he's recovered fast. Again, I love how Kim's like, you don't have to do this. It's not worth throwing your career away. But like I said, throughout all of this, again, these are just great characters. And the fact that no character looks alike. Oh, we forgot to talk about one character. One member of the Marines that's so like, is this intentional? Jason. It has to be. He has a hockey mask and a chainsaw.
And his name is Jason.
I mean, okay. You're like, okay, the chainsaw. Okay, yeah, okay, that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But come on, people sometimes think Jason with a chainsaw. Come on.
I mean, they did it with Tokyo Ghoul.
Yep, exactly. And it's just like, but again, he seems to be much more mellow, and he seems to be a bit chattier, it seems, or at least they can understand him.
Yeah.
And he's lost a lot of his muscle mass.
He did.
But, I mean, okay, it's obviously not really Jason, but...
Obviously.
But it's still hilarious. Like I said, my favorite Marine is the main guy. The guy with the stitches and all that. But in the OVA, you see him in a tux on a date. And the date, the person's his date's be like, I'm allergic to oil, motor oil.
Wait, what about the other guy? His buddy?
Him? Oh, we saw him on a date earlier, and it turns out he's hardly around.
What?
Again, it's basically the joke is neither one of them can get a date, even though they feel like they're the best, manly mans.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And the funny thing is, his buddy, his date is dating this dweeb in the tech support. Like, God, that's what you dumped me for? So, yeah, overall, though, Captain Tylor, this is a great, underrated anime. I mean, I don't see them wanting to continue it. I think it's, even though the OVA ends on a cliffhanger, at least we have the liner notes to tell us what happened. But even still, it's still great. It's still amazing. I mean, yeah, having this be more serious is a bit. The funny thing is, you could do that because these characters lend themselves to it. It's not a complete comical farce.
No, there's a lot of serious aspects in this show.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, it balances it out so well that you can take away most of the comedy and make it mostly serious and still get a lot out of it. There's a reason why some people say the OVA is probably even better than the anime. I'd argue it because of that cliffhanger, but still. All I gotta say, I do like how they make it very clear. With the Rygons, you needed another faction. One to take care of Wang. I hated Wang. I hated him. I'm glad he's dead. Yeah, I'm glad he's dead. But yeah, so yeah, like she said, 8 out of 10. If you can get the Blu-ray or get these DVDs or something, check it out, guys. I mean, it is so worth it. I mean, and the voice acting is very strong. The action, the ship action is good. The comedy, the slapstick is always hilarious. Oh, we didn't mention one other bit. Normally we see Captain Dom completely composed throughout almost everything, except one moment at the very end when Aslan says, "Bring me Paco Paco." What? It's just like, what kind of face was that?
It was so out of nowhere, and I was like, he's just usually so calm and composed that was.
And even at that point,
was the least thing I would have expected to come out of his face.
I know. I would expect him to hang his head like, ugh, but he's like, what? And he says, "She hi, go bring Paco Paco," and she's like, "My God." It's like, I think they want to end it on the reveal that they are just that Dom is not so above it all. Like I say, what do you think about what I revealed about Dom? How he goes from being this reasonable guy, then you realize he's still an enemy captain.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, what side are you on? I'm so confused.
Yeah, but this makes it very clear. Oh no, he is definitely on the princess's side, and the fact that he just tortures him in a way you're like, geez, I thought you were the fair guy, but then you're like, oh, he's still loyal to her, and he will still kill Tylor. Because again, he never got the beat on him, never did. And the fact that he actually looks at, after the events of that, he looks even less upon Tylor because he thinks because he thought he seduced the Empress. Well, given to the point where she actually drops her clothes, so she's completely naked and wanting to seduce him.
Why is it always the guy's fault? He didn't do anything.
Given how she's never seen Her Excellency do that, and he's not fully understanding either that she's in love with Tylor. He still thinks it's the pet thing too, and then all that stuff. Yeah, and unfortunately the crew believe it too, because they think like, why did he have a pervy smile? And why did that stuff? It's like, you brokered a deal and all this stuff. And again, once everything is brought to light, it's like, okay, it gets what I like about it. We don't know what everything was about until the very, very end when everyone else finds out. Until then, they keep jumping around. We're like, and even to the point where even Adlin says, in agreeing to this, I can never stop being Empress, which is technically true. If you're going to bring about peace, only she's the one who's willing to do it. Oh, and there was a point where Aslan asked Dom, do you think peace will ever come and this war will end? And he told her, so long as you keep believing it and hoping for it, it will. But at the end of the OVA, she then says, he was wrong. I hope, just wanting it is not enough. It's basically that point where she's deciding you got to actually go for it.
Yeah,
So
you
it's
have to
basically,
want it and do it.
which I think I get why Dom is still looking at her as a 16-year-old girl. But it's always softening the blow, but it's like, that's not what she needed to hear.
Yeah, I've that's what I felt when he first said that to her.
Yeah, but yeah, so at the end, her finally realizing he was wrong, you're like, yeah, that is the more pragmatic viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay, now we can wrap it up. Check it out, guys, and
Check it
thank
out.
you. Yeah, you can watch the whole regular series dubbed on their YouTube channel. So just look it up; you can find it. The OVA, unfortunately, is just sub only at the moment. When they'll ever do, or if they'll ever do the dub, I don't know.
It'd be great if it was on the Blu-ray.
Oh, it will be on the Blu-ray. It's everything.
The dub on the Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right Stuff has the right. Why else would they interview Crispin Freeman if they weren't going to have the dub on it?
That's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah, Right Stuff, because Right Stuff also released this. Cheat. You can barely see that, but yeah, that's Right Stuff. So yeah, again, check it out, guys. Enjoy it and have fun, and we'll see you guys and later.
See you.
Take care.